Coming up on this episode of the Roundtable.
We are under order from our health officials in California and from Newsom that we can't have more than 3 households. We can't have more than 10 people, I think.
Yeah, no more than 10 people for
And
Thanksgiving.
you can eat outside, but there shall be no singing, and you shall replace your mask in between bites, and you can share a restroom in your own damn house, but only if it's regularly sanitized. Yeah, so that's where we are.
And
reporting from Soviet California.
And ye shall eat with your sandals on your feet, lest the Rona pass over thine house. And I will remember that thou wert pilgrim.
You put the BLM sign outside the door, and the Corona will pass over your house.
Inscribe your pronouns over the lintel. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hang the mask on the mantle. Welcome, everyone, once again to the Roundtable, the Publishers and Editors podcast. Here at the American Mind at the Claremont Institute, I'm your host, Ryan Williams, president of the Claremont Institute, publisher of the Claremont Review of Books and the American Mind, joined by Matthew Peterson, vice president of education at the Claremont Institute, founding editor of the American Mind, Spencer Clavin, associate editor of the American Mind and the Claremont Review of Books, David Barr, director of publications for the Claremont Institute. He hawks all of our written wares. James Pullis is on the road somewhere to Thanksgiving, so he can't join us today. We didn't want him to crash while phoning in. James we'll hear from next week. I believe he's visiting a red state, which we hope will stay red, that we all love, Arizona, where his parents are. Anyway, I wanted to open with some lighter fare and just ask you all what Thanksgiving plans are. Matthew Peterson.
Well, my family has already embarked on the road up to Northern California, where they're at some beautiful cabins on the peninsula, south of Half Moon Bay. Family, my wife's family, they're all getting together. And the wonderful thing about it is there's 7 kids in this family, and they're all coming, they're all together. Most of them are already in California for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
We're not going to, they're just going to do what they normally do, right?
Yeah.
So they all have kids.
So you're exceeding the limitation by 2x. I like that. That's good.
The cabins are outdoor, so they're outside. Nonetheless, I have seen people on the property wearing masks outside, but that's outside, so that's legit. It becomes a little interesting when you talk about they're all going to go to Sacramento. I'm going to fly to Sacramento tomorrow, like many Americans apparently who are now flying. And I will be one of them, and I'll be going to Sacramento, and it'll be a big family Thanksgiving, like you do. And Gavin Newsom, be damned. It's exciting. I'm glad for her and her family. Everyone's going to be there. It's going to be absolutely insane. Generally, the next morning, I sometimes get up with the old man, and he'll come in and. There's so many kids. All these people have lots of kids. This is a peachy keen friendly zone. And
you have kin in the game, as it were.
Yes, there's lots of kin in our game, and they're all running around and going nuts, and everyone's yelling and arguing and talking about things.
It's a built-in touch football team.
And what happens the next morning is when we wake up, every day I'm there, you look and there's one of those Costco-sized bottles, booze. And the old man, God bless him, he just looks at it and he just kind of shakes his head like, what? How is it even possible?
The damage you did the night before. Yeah.
You know this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And this is what happens with Thanksgiving. Like it's kind of, it's like being in the airport, Adults can drink their way through it and it's totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah, day drinking is not a thing.
I like that analogy, the airport analogy. It's like normal societal rules don't apply.
It's just,
you see junk food and drink whiskey. Yeah.
I'm in an airplane. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to have some wine. Why not?
It's what we call a liminal space. Yeah. Rules no longer apply. I am disappointed to report that I'm not breaking more rules. I wish that I had a more transgressive Thanksgiving than I do, although I will be traveling. I'll be flying tomorrow.
You're flying to a free state.
I'm flying to deep red Indiana, rural Indiana, where Josh is from, my boyfriend, and we will be graciously accommodated by his family, but unfortunately we'll only have 2 households in the home. I wish that we had more. So that, I know. I am a little bit ashamed in front of you, my conservative brethren, to report these credentials that are not exactly as good as I want. But I think that in order to compensate, what we should all do is sing the many Thanksgiving carols that we all love.
You can sing.
That's right. Oh, turkey. oh, thou turkey sitting on the table. No, there are no Thanksgiving carols, which is why it's so hilarious that we're all being advised not to. Who sings at the Thanksgiving table? Does anybody sing? Do any of you guys ever sing at Thanksgiving?
No, it has not been a tradition I've been acquainted with.
Nobody sings at Thanksgiving. I mean, nobody even sings in Christmas when it's like there is Christmas music, but nobody gathers around the table and just sings songs.
I mean, it's so mind-boggling. It's everything good.
Yes.
Don't do.
You can't play loud music.
Like, I know no one's really singing together as a family in America, but if they did, that would be a good thing.
Don't do
so
it.
Let's ban
exactly. It really, I mean, the CDC literally released a guideline not to play loud music because as we all know, coronavirus, big fan of raves, big party animal, and likes to come when there's loud music.
One of the best things I have to say, I just be transgressive right off the beginning, and the Laphroaig hasn't even taken effect.
Go on.
One of the best things I've heard in a while, right up your alley here, is NPR on the way over here. Middle of the day, and it says, what were they saying? The headline was something like, public health officials are leaving their posts and retiring because they're being harassed, and people are angry in the age of the coronavirus. And the music was, dun dun dun. And I was sitting there thinking, like, maybe there is some hope after.
Inject that harassment
because the public health officials. By the way, for those listening, if you don't realize this, I mean, public health officials are the most woke and the most insane. When it comes to the politicization of science. They're the craziest people you can imagine. Social science on crack.
Well, Ryan and I were just recording for our Substack, which you should all subscribe to, The American Mindset, podcast about who these like lower level officials actually are. And there was some hope, I suppose, that as you quoted Angela Cordovilla saying, when you encounter these people, you say, who the hell are you? You
exactly.
know,
and by what right?
And by what right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. David?
Bar, what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving?
Well, it's sad. I mean, I drove my family down to North Carolina.
Oh, right.
That's right. Are they going to be gone
a week and a half ago? Yeah, it's because my dad lives overseas, and so it's hard. The holidays, we need to, we alternate years.
Yeah.
Like we try and play this musical chair stuff. So she's with the kids, but I'll go pick them up.
You're batching it, weekend. In other words.
Yeah. So but my younger brother is.
I can tell it's already been a couple of days because instead of going, you were like,
yes, I have no food. My clothes are dirty. Somebody come save me.
Yeah. Well, my younger brother is
it's a cry for help
with his girlfriend, and he happens to work for one of the pharmaceutical companies that developed the cure. So I'm gonna sneak into headquarters with him, and we'll just stab each other
and steal some
with vaccines. Get all up. I'll go out and kiss people.
Wait, we're about to be canceled. Wait, David. Because of what you just said, we are about to be like kicked off of the platforms because
podcast.
You said there's you implied that there's a cure for coronavirus, and that is verboten. That is forbidden by our regime. You can't.
Oh yeah. Well, look. Ask the Pfizer execs who cashed out of their stock options. Just how bad breaking news like that is.
Yeah.
Is that why they're waiting until the 10th to meet, or is there some other reason? I do not understand why the FDA is not meeting today. Why, the minute Pfizer announced this, did they not just convene an emergency meeting? Like,
well,
is there no structure for that?
It is a federal bureaucracy, so the rocket docket is 20 days.
Yeah.
Even I, strenuous critic of federal bureaucracy that I am, never could have imagined that there existed no mechanism in the case of a national pandemic. Like, am I crazy here? Like, why aren't they meeting right now about this?
No, you're not crazy, but I mean, there's a lot of people who need to get paid.
Well, exactly. I mean, is it literally just
there's a lot of
they can buy out their stock options?
There's a lot of machinery, in Rube Goldberg, Washington, and it all needs to be greased, and everything needs to come out the right way. And
I was so ready for one of you guys to have a different answer than that, but that's literally what it is, right? I mean, it's like not a combination
of that and incompetence.
Oh my god!
The insider.
Just wait till the logistics happen, Spence.
The untraceable insider trading has to all be lined up ahead of time, Spencer.
But it also
imagine the arguments too.
To repeat Matt from last week, what are you naive or something?
Yeah, well, exactly. I am naive. I didn't think that I was. I thought that I was red pilled and black pilled and every pilled, but I am naive. Like I am actually still shocked.
Imagine the money, that's going to change hands, the distribution.
Oh my gosh.
it boggles the mind, and everyone is going to want a piece of that. But
and it speaks.
Who knows?
Also,
It could also be incompetence.
Well, but it speaks also to the arrogance and disconnection, right? I mean, this is also something that some of us were talking about on these interviews earlier. Is that the for the people who are meeting on the FDA board, I can only imagine that December 10th, November 23rd, to November 25th, what does it matter? Like, everybody's just sitting in their pod, right? Isn't that what we're all doing? And aren't we all working from home?
We have to
Isn't it
cancel
fine?
Christmas and Thanksgiving,
Right.
Spencer.
I know.
So we can't give out the vaccine yet.
This is actually, I wonder if we can, in our Thanksgiving segment, talk about this, that somebody tweeted something like, they canceled the Olympics. You can cancel eating potato in a group. The idea that these holidays...
Actually, no, it's much more important than the Olympics
eating-
that I meet with my family.
Well, and it's also, it's eating turkey in a group,
Right.
to be fair. But right, like, yeah.
Wait a minute. Barr did not explain what he's going to do for Thanksgiving.
As a bachelor, it's true. Sorry.
I told you, I said I'm going to go and stab myself with a bunch of vaccines, man, until I become like super immunity, and then I'm going to kiss people, freak them out. I mean, look, that's only half a joke. Our Maryland Governor Hogan announced that today at 5 p.m., so just a few hours ago, that we can no longer go outside without a mask. And so today I went for a run early this morning, and I always get dirty looks, but somebody said, were you wearing your mask outside tomorrow? And it's just amazing that in the middle of the woods, people will be wearing masks, and I can't tolerate it. I mean,
no, it is intolerable. No one should tolerate it. No, here in downtown Claremont, it's $100 fine for no mask for first offense.
You're kidding, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know
Second
that.
offense is $500. I mean, I walk around. I walk around the village without a mask, so I don't know. I don't think I've winked at Claremont PD as they've gone past yet. But a lot of people are masked up. I mean, I'll wear it in the store. I don't want to freak anyone out. But walking around outside, it's so ridiculous.
No, and in your car alone, I mean, it does. It inspires profound rage in me. I'm feeling a bit oppressed by rage. I just to use social justice language. I wake up every day and there is some new, just arrogant idiot declaring that it's fine for my, barista or my friend that works at the restaurant to lose his livelihood. It's just fine. It's not even, here's what we'll do to compensate you. It's not, here's why we'll get back to normal soon. All of that is gone. It's just, it's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to address it. It's just happening. And you go to these restaurants and you talk to people and they say things like, there's a charity that exists to support people while they're off work. So young, healthy people in the prime of their lives are just going to be turned into beggars by the state, and we're all going to be like, oh, that's fine? Well, how is that fine?
Psychologically, the number that does on you.
Oh my gosh. It turns you into a serf.
Yeah.
My reading, we should talk about this more when we should talk about California. My reading of what Barr is saying, I think the esoteric, my interpretation of it is, Barr, that for Thanksgiving, what you're really going to do is go get a huge bacon double cheeseburger and have some beers, and you're going to be like David Hasselhoff in that video, in your house, just eating the burger, drinking the beer happily on the floor.
Then I'll call my wife. Doesn't he cuss out one of his kids in that video?
I just remember that video was amazing because I remember just looking at that. It's it's an indescribable. Just it completely gets across a state of human nature and a state of being that many people recognize.
Yeah.
So we await your rendition of Ooga Chaka, the great David Hasselhoff music video. Wait, that's not wrong, right?
That's not wrong.
Yeah.
Our friend and colleague Georgie Arashidze, who grew up, he's from Georgia, the Republic of Georgia, and went there, I think, through early middle school, and then moved to Atlanta with a foster family and ended up going to Middlebury and is now a successful professor at Claremont McKenna with tenure. But Georgie loved to tell the story of just the glories of Georgian bootlegged American cinema. So Chuck Norris was huge, of course, and it's all dubbed terribly into Georgian. And Hasselhoff made the rounds as well. And I was happy to learn that Point Break also was a classic. It's one of my favorite movies. Catherine Bigelow's finest film. Anyway, so my Thanksgiving is the in-laws are in town and my sister-in-law who lives in Hollywood. So sadly, actually, I'm with you, Spencer. It's only 3 households. So I'm right at the limit of...
so disappointed
but
in all of us.
We'll be eating inside. That's
good. Yeah, me too.
My one. I dry brined the turkey this morning, so it's now drying out in the fridge.
Ryan described to me in minute detail off mic what the process of dry brining is. It sounds
Wait a minute.
amazing.
Before you go into dry brining, just to back up for our audience,
Please.
I think there's a lot of people who need to realize that the normal things we're describing, in case you haven't guessed, of having Thanksgiving with so many people, et cetera, are all illegal now.
Everything
in
is
California.
outlawed. Yeah,
In California, right? We should clarify, yeah.
Yeah.
For those who don't follow this stuff closely, we are under order from our health officials in California and from Newsom that we can't have more than 3 households. We can't have more than 10 people, I think.
Yeah, no more than 10 people for
And
Thanksgiving.
you can eat outside, but there shall be no singing, and you shall replace your mask in between bites, and you can share a restroom in your own damn house, but only if it's regularly sanitized. So that's where we are.
And ye shall
Reporting
eat-
from Soviet California stand.
And ye shall eat with your sandals on your feet, lest the Rona pass over thine house. And thou will remember that thou wert
You
pilgrim.
put the BLM sign outside the door, and the corona will pass over your house.
Inscribe your pronouns over the lintel. Yes, exactly.
Hang the mask on the mantle. And we're under a statewide curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m.
And that means I have to
Were
go
you guys
out
given a
after-
time frame for
A
that?
curfew,
How long is all this?
for kids.
just forever.
I suspect it tracks with our what in many counties, LA County included, is a 3-week complete shutdown of restaurants except for takeout. So I think it's probably from now. They're just going to extend it through inauguration. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
It is what I think, because in Montgomery County, our county executive, Ehrlich, he'll go against what Hogan says. Hogan will say, okay, well, guys, Montgomery County, it's fine, open up. And Ehrlich will say, not quite yet.
Yeah.
So you have this like weird dueling also at
Right.
the lower.
These people should all be put in stocks and publicly flogged. I mean, that's in a
Immediately.
just society. That's what would happen.
100%.
Humiliated.
I interrupted
Yes,
you.
Ryan.
Oh, that's all
Stories
right.
about-
Yeah, we're keeping it simple this year. It's I bought a fancy heritage turkey, so that was my one splurge. At the recommendation, no one will be surprised to learn, the provider was given to me by Mike Anton, who knows all these things.
But what's a heritage turkey?
They're just they keep like the breeds of old from older
the hell
America. Yeah.
They work for conservative pig tax, David.
So you're eating like an aristocratic bird? How much do you go for?
They're more turkey-like. I'm ashamed to admit my 10-pound heritage turkey was about $200.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I said I was not lying. It was a splurge. I'll report back whether it was worth it.
$200 is. I expected you to say something just outlandish, and it's a lot of money, but it's
No, I mean high quality poultry is worth paying for. I think.
Forgive me, but is the
You will feed a
heritage
lot of
of this bird American?
Oh yeah.
No, Matt, it's Chinese. We don't need American birds.
This is an American sourced bird. No, this is why I've ascended the ranks to think tank executive leadership. This is the perk. I get to overpay. I get to overpay for turkeys.
We're rolling in heritage
And
turkeys
so
here.
this is what I'm
Come on,
always
guys.
intrigued by. Our friend Mike Anton and some of our crew are very into the culinary delights.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the bird?
So I dry brined it, and I'll just roast it. So I'm going more simple than I would normally. So it's just that dry brine is just salt and sugar underneath the skin on all the, on the legs and the breasts and everything. You sort of get under the skin and work the whole thing, and let it sit for a few days and dry out. And then you just kind of salt the outside with some oil, and that's it. And then your main flavor is, of course, the gravy over that turkey. So I've found that less is more with poultry, and so now I'm sort of really embracing that this year. Although I've stuck some rosemary and orange peel into the cavity to just perfume it a little bit. But I don't know. We'll see.
Family show. This is a family show.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Actually, the secret. I mean, the sad thing about it is that turkey is not that good. I think
Shut it. I haven't said this in a while, but shut this podcast down. I'm retreating under the table.
You guys didn't get that for full effect yet. I don't think turkey's that good. Part of the reason why I overspent on the heritage turkey to see if I can remedy this.
Actually good, yeah.
I much prefer roast chicken, frankly. It's much tastier.
Wait, flash poll, dark meat, light meat?
Oh, dark. I mean,
yeah, obviously. Right.
Come
okay,
on.
Me too.
Well, depends. The turkey sandwich the next day.
No, yeah.
The light meat, good application.
But that's why you don't eat the light meat on the day.
Yeah.
Is because it's so much better in the sandwich.
So heritage turkey. I mean, curious about this too. I mean, what about like the turkey?
We're gonna lose like 1,000 subscribers in this episode.
The
decadent nonsense.
I know. People, can you?
the podcast and we're still
I mean,
on turkey.
I have to say they do call this online a cope, right? You can kind of tell what we're not talking about right now.
Yeah.
We can be honest about that. We are talking about this stuff and not some other things, but it's okay. What about like wild turkey in America? I mean, these are bred, obviously, and you breed turkeys to make them taste better over time.
Right.
But is there any opinion about what wild turkey tastes like? I've always wondered that. I've always wanted to hunt them, and I never have.
They're just
worse?
gamier and stringier.
Yeah. Okay.
So. Oh, and then my wife, who used to cook for a living, I'm very lucky, is making burnished potatoes, which is
Well, that sounds good.
yeah, they're going to be roasted in duck fat.
Another question I have for you that's a little bit more controversial is marshmallows in the sweet potatoes or not? No. Okay. Everybody's a no. My grandma.
My wife is with you, Spencer. She tried to pawn off some innovative recipe.
To clear my name, I'm actually not coming out in favor of marshmallows. I'm just saying that my grandmother put them in, and therefore I have a certain negative affection for them. But I actually think that without is probably unbalanced.
I love.
There's always the comfort foods like that.
Right. Yeah.
I love just a normal pumpkin pie. That's not very sweet, you know. So
Yep.
I've never been a huge marshmallow fan.
No, I mean, the best thing is you get a bowl the day after and you just mix up some elements all together.
Yeah. Well, yams are nature's candy. I mean, you don't really need much of anything. To make
I just can't get over the fact that there's something out there called a heritage turkey.
It works for a think tank. It works for
it
works for the Heritage Foundation.
It gets paid $240,000 a year to opine on policy for the Heritage Foundation.
240. Get out of town.
Heritage turkeys, they
I can't incorporate into my mental space that somebody works for the Heritage Fund and makes $240,000 a year. I'm sorry, that's like too much for me to handle.
Look up their 990, Spencer. It's not very many people, just a couple of their vice presidents. But anyway, that doesn't matter.
We can cut this out. I don't mean to.
We have many friends. Many of our best friends work for the Heritage Foundation.
Heritage is great. Everybody loves Heritage. However, they're turkeys. Not so sure.
Yeah, the turkeys are overrated. Well, I want to say something that I'm thankful for, which is that we have one of our fans sent us here at the office a bottle of Laphroaig quarter cask to enjoy while podcasting. So thank you, sir.
And let me say, it is so good. Did this fan know that this is my favorite whiskey, or did they?
I don't think we've said it. He just knows we're.
No, you said. Didn't you say it super early?
Our first podcast. We
obviously we're not saying in the podcast, but we know who this person is.
Yeah,
I assume.
Yeah.
Because I just walked in here.
I didn't ask him ahead of time if we could broadcast his name.
I just walked in, and quarter cask Laphroaig is just sitting here. So I very much thank you from the bottom of my heart. After this is like our short week after the crazy times we've had, to have the bottle of Laphroaig back in here is amazing.
It's actually a genuine gift because here we are in our festive holiday podcast, and not to get
I guess that's what it's turning into.
That's what it's happening to be. I mean, not to be all like weepy or whatever, but I'm very thankful for this podcast. It's been like we sort of sat around a table and said, let's have a podcast however many episodes ago, and we all poured ourselves, in fact, a bottle of Laphroaig it was that I believe I brought, and here we are again. This thing has taken off. It's been a really wonderful journey, and it's taken beautiful shape, and I look forward to it every week. It's great. Cheers, you guys.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you, Spencer.
Cheers.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Jay can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in February we're coming up on 1 year anniversary, right?
January 24th.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you're kidding.
Wait, when's inauguration? Isn't it that day?
I think it's the 20th.
The 20th.
20th.
January 20th is our inauguration.
Oh, yeah, right. It's
our inauguration podcast
constitutionally prescribed.
We'll have
Is Inauguration Day. I thought that's the day we're all bringing pitchforks to Washington.
Yeah.
No, we're doing a MAGA rally. Did you know?
It's when you're going to run around the mall just vaccinating people, David.
Yeah. Only my friends.
You said you're going to kiss everybody.
Your friends are all going to have like
No, right.
tracking chips in them then from Bill Gates. No, I'm sorry. That is misinformation.
What's David thankful for?
Well, I'm very thankful to the Claremont Institute for you guys. I was going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
The exact same thing.
Yeah.
There are innumerable things you can say, your family and your health, etc. But I mean, look, if we're to stay on topic, it's no, but it's what the I think so for Ryan and just the ability, and Matt and James isn't here, but as
and I'm what am I, chopped liver?
He's like,
no, because
I just take you for granted.
It's like whatever,
no,
the
I'm
people
saying
that work
because
underneath
Spencer and I are the junior editors.
We are,
the
it's true.
latitude
No,
you've
it's
given
absolutely
us
true.
to
Yes.
kind of execute ideas
Here.
and get good people writing has been wonderful.
Yes, we're very grateful. This Thanksgiving is also my 30th birthday, so it's like a double. It's an extra, take stock of all the things, you know. And I am actually, all joking aside, I'm hugely thankful for both of you and James, who's absent. It's been such bliss to work here. And wow, yes, what David is saying about latitude is really true and makes us our best selves, I think, to be able to write things and propose ideas and so forth. It's great.
Yeah, I remember having lunch with Ryan a long time ago and getting the impression of what he wanted to do. And man, I mean, just what he's opened up and what has been accomplished.
Yep.
And just the opportunity to be part of that is I'm very grateful for. And also, like the entire team here has created something out of nothing. I mean, I don't want to sit around and pat everyone's back, but I do. And I really am just happy to be part of it. And I think what's gratifying, especially in a time where, there's some dark stuff happening. There's many black pills being dispensed by people young and old alike. What I've realized in the last few weeks is just how much remember I said we were going over the waterfall with the election. So hang out with your friends in the barrel and go down.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, so the barrel came down and it kind of bobbed up around and went all crazy. Yeah. And there was the Kraken under the water and still hasn't appeared and all this. And all of a sudden we're just kind of starting to float down the river again. And it just makes me have the warm, cozy feeling of being happy, of being with, being with people who are of like mind, who aren't going to flinch and are going to continue to move forward.
Yeah, amen.
We have a good team, and let us also shout out to Jake in the booth.
Jake the Cannon Gammon.
Jake the Cannon Gammon. Yeah.
Very
I was
good.
just going to say, I'm thankful for Jake Gannon.
And Annalisa.
Both of whom have made their podcast debut on Tell Me What You Really Think.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, and to great reviews. A lot of people have contacted me about those episodes to say
they're going to like them better than
my gosh. In fact, that was what they said. They said they're so much better than
exactly.
They hear from us all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, speaking of the election, we wanted to talk a bit about Kamikaze Trump. Now, I don't mean to foreclose the possibility of revelations in the coming 2 weeks before the Electoral College meets and some reversal of fortunes for Team Trump in the face of the unrelenting and unrelentingly sort of smug and self-satisfied and frankly constitutionally mendacious attempts to say, nothing to see here, folks. It's Biden all the way, and there's nothing Trump can do about it. Having said all that, should Trump end up having to depart, which contrary to the ravings of Bill Kristol types, if it comes down to his legitimate loss or half legitimate loss, he'll leave. No one's going to be dragging him out. It's crazy. But anyway, should he have to vacate, there's a lot that can be done in the next 2 months. And we're right at about 2 months right now, right? Just under, with 4 days on the other side of it. So between now and inauguration, there's a lot that can be done. We hear rumors of some sort of birthright citizenship executive order. Not sure how long-lived that would be if Biden took over, because EOs cometh and goeth with the times and the personnel. One thing that I've been excited at the prospect of is a lot of declassification for those of you who don't follow this thing normally, the commander-in-chief more or less has plenary authority to declassify whatever he wants. Our friends on the Never Trump right, and our former friends, I should say, and some of the more hysterical folks on the left, and especially in the establishment security state of both parties, frankly, say that this would be dangerous and unprecedented, et cetera, et cetera. But we all know, anyone who's been reading about this in recent years knows that the intelligence communities are politicized, that they leak to their own benefit all the time, that they classify to keep things hidden, that, as our colleague Angelo Codavilla has written, the common tactic from the CIA or any of these now proliferating agencies is such and such will happen if you don't do X, Y, or Z. Trust us, we know. And then you ask them, well, how do you know? And they say, I'm sorry, we can't tell you that. You just have to trust us. Trump puncturing the pretenses of that and doing it in a targeted way to declassify a lot of stuff that would be revealing and embarrassing to this community would be a great boon to American liberty and self-government. And I hope he undertakes it with great alacrity.
He did it with the JFK stuff at the start, right? Is that correct?
Did he?
Didn't we have a big JFK dump?
Yeah, I think so.
It
seems like ancient history.
Presidency.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like ancient history. And look, also the point that you're making, it's not as if these intelligence community people, that's the whole reason they're paid so well when they flow back into the private sector. It's for precisely what they know. So they play, my guess would be that they play very fast and loose with classified information. It's how they give BlackRock investment advice.
Yeah, the
even though it's illegal.
Right. I mean, the boogeyman is that if you reveal this information, you're going to compromise American security or even jeopardize American lives because this related to, and one thing in my view that COVID has made quite clear is that that's a farce in many cases. I mean, it's not a farce in every case, of course, because America does have multiple interests overseas and is engaged in a very serious and dangerous operations. I am personally, at least, not an advocate for knowing everything that the government knows. I'm not an Edward Snowden in any respect. All of that having been said, we have seen on full display over the past however many months that many members of the bureaucratic state are purely useless except to oppress people. Yeah. And those people are certainly taking advantage of these classification doctrines in such a way as to make it impossible for us to prove the truth of what they are. And if Trump can unveil that, then it would be his last great service to the American people if he can make that apparent. I don't know what information he has access to that he can declassify, but I don't doubt, only just Gavin Newsom over here coming out, it being revealed as having dined at the French Laundry, this, gajillion-dollar restaurant where his wine tab was something like $15,000 among all of the health officials of the county. You think that's an isolated incident? Then I've got a bridge to sell you. I mean, there's just no way that that's not happening at every level of government, and to reveal that would be huge. It would remove a lot of confusion, I think.
I got a black pill for all of you.
Go on.
Is it UFOs?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, to me, that's kind of like, I don't know, a crazy colored pill that I like. First off, I just want to iterate for the record that we're talking about Kamikaze Trump, the concept, which comes to you in an article at AmericanMind.org. That's AmericanMind.org.
I've been there. It's a great
Kamikaze
website.
Trump is written by someone who has served in the Trump administration and is in D.C., and it goes through a lot of these ideas. My black pill is basically this. I don't know whether you guys agree or disagree. I don't think there's a hell of a lot Trump can do to declassify anything that would be of danger to the IC because they won't do it. And look, he wants to declassify all kinds of things. Gina Haspel's not going to do it. Right? She's already put up a fight on a lot of this stuff. In other words, there's 1,000 ways for the thousands of bureaucrats that a few political appointed people in charge of them can slow walk this stuff.
Yeah.
And so people, they still have this mindset, like you have political appointees, you put your people in, and then you tell people what to do. That is not the way these institutions work. So I think that even if there was a full court press by Trump, they know he's a lame duck in their minds, and they think, we'll slow walk everything. Basically, the CIA has already said, no, we're not going to give you this because we disagree, just like the defense secretary, Esper, said no to Trump on multiple issues. So I think that, I don't know. I mean, I'm of the mind that, of course, you're all right. He should push for declassifying everything, especially the aliens, but for everything, for a number of things, which would embarrass the IC. What you would want to do in reality is get a number of incidents where it just shows the disastrous nature of American intelligence in so-called the oxymoron in the last 10, 20 years. But I don't know if that's possible. I think they just say no.
Yeah, that's true enough. I mean, all of what we're talking about right now, let's be frank, is kind of last-ditch efforts, and I think we're probably on the verge of, at the executive level, a lot of that sort of thing happening. And one thing we've learned over the past 4 years, I think, in a salutary way, we've learned to take advantage of those levers of power as and when we can, and to shoot your shot. Shooter's going to shoot. You've got to make these attempts. I agree with you, Matt, that there's a low probability of this succeeding.
Right. But the thing is, you're right. I mean, the other thing, the way it works, which is messier than people think, is there could be a fight.
Exactly.
You could find a few allies within an agency, and then you could find the contours of the landscape, and you could fight a war to try to do what you could. Right.
There could be a fight. There could be an accident. I mean, this is something I remember very vividly as a child. This is going to have a point, I promise. I remember as a child thinking that at some age, the adults would take me aside and induct me into all of the capabilities and competencies of adult life. And
that happened to you at Yale. That was organization.
Yale is the perfect. Yale is David. Yale is the perfect counter example, the counter argument to this belief, right? Because I think everybody at some level, as a child, believes that adults possess special knowledge and special competencies that they do not have, and at some grand moment, some revelatory instance, they will be inducted into this. No such thing exists. Every organization is just people, broken, flawed, incompetent people. And they're, again, we've seen many instances of this over the past 4 years. It's perfectly plausible that there'll just be somebody that hasn't CYA'd at quite the right level. And, and Republicans, not just Trump, should shoot those shots, should try to find those places. I mean, that's, Matt, it looks like you have much more to say on this topic.
No.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah. Well, so
finish your thoughts.
Yeah. So there's that. I do not mean to sound despairing, because actually, for all the jokes we've made about COPE and everything, I'm very bullish. I'm very excited. I'm feeling optimistic about the future, in part because, and here's something that I've been turning over, speaking of approaching one's 30th birthday and all this stuff,
you're going to start thinking
you're getting old and wise.
I'm thinking about, I'm starting to lose my mind. This is what is happening.
But the beginning of the end of the rest of your life.
It's all there. We call this gay death at the end of your 20s.
I was going to make that joke earlier, but I'm glad you did it first.
I know exactly what my role is in this new world. Exactly what my purpose is. I am part of and excited to be on this new Republican Party, which is comprised of misfits and working class, ragtag crazies, rebels against the regime. And I know exactly what my particular task is, which is to unmake and remake the academy. I'm entirely on, and to have that task in front of me, a task for which I feel supremely qualified, to be perfectly frank. Like, I feel that I've been invested with God with exactly the gifts that are required for doing that. And yeah, like, are there supreme odds stacked against it? Are there challenges in front of me? Yeah, but like those that are with me are greater than those that are against me. And it's to me, it is the clarity of the mandate that has emerged from the statistics out of this election, right? Like knowing what the Republican Party has to look like, knowing where the winds are blowing, and knowing how to, knowing that like the danger is lapsing back into this old kind of dead Reaganite consensus, and that the opposite of that looks like something. It looks like this working class party, multiracial, multi-ethnic working class party with a certain set of kind of Trumpist but also post-Trump attitudes and ideals. Like that's a very clear project. And like when you have a clear project, it doesn't actually matter how much or how little you have in opposition to you, frankly.
You've not been reading Bill Kristol's Twitter feed, Spencer.
No, I have been reading Bill Kristol's Twitter feed, except that like I'm very bullish about just like not caring about what stupid people think.
No, I know. The normal quip is that there's no going back, but Bill Kristol's Twitter feed is actually only the going back.
Yeah, right, of course. But Kristol's a perfect But like Kristol's a perfect example of like somebody he represents and he almost embodies like everything that we know. Like that's so definite, right? Like Kristol as a human being is like a precise articulation of everything that we must not do. and the precision of that is comforting to me. It's like, I actually more than during the past 4 years, I know what my job is, Is that crazy? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think I feel the same kind of clarity moving forward in my own life. These things have a way of change. The landscape changes, and sometimes it clarifies, sometimes it raises questions. I think it clarifies for me. And the task of education is, we talked about this earlier today in a mini podcast, is very important. It's all falling apart. But I think on this question of Kamikaze Trump, I would be very interested as editor of American Mind. I'd be very interested in having people out there give ideas, assuming Trump is going to have to leave. What should he do? I think there's a lot of hilarious and serious things he could do, some of which are outlined in this article. But it's there's tons of other things he could do on the way out that would be very interesting, that would be very important. And I don't think people should regard this, I know our listeners don't, as an unimportant time and okay, Biden's just going to take over. Life is continuous. Politics is continuous. What happens now connects to what happens later. And so what Trump does actually between now and Inauguration Day, assuming he's going to have to let it go, is really, really important. And of course, if he's still there, it's all good that he did these things. It's still good.
Yeah. Right. There's nothing wrong with doing them, even if he actually prevails. There's actually no problem with doing any of these things.
So you need to think like it's one of those times when the preacher man comes and says, you got a week left in your life. What would you do? What would you do if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, kind of thing? What would the Trump administration do if it's going to die at Inauguration Day? I think there's a lot of creative ideas people could come up with, a lot of interesting things that could be done that will help lay the groundwork for what comes after. By the way, the most hilarious thing, of course, I think it's the most hilarious thing that our pseudonymous author said was that he should pardon Hillary Clinton. This one is worth it just for the LOLs.
Do you
Yeah, that would be a fitting capstone troll. Is to pardon Hillary. That would be pretty good. The wild card is, and I suspect our listeners are all over the map on this. I don't quite know how to think about it, frankly, but would be to pardon Julian Assange. Snowden, who's clearly a traitor, is a different case.
Yeah.
But Assange. Assange at his best stands against the globo blob established opinion and the kind of the mentality that our intelligence community has is very much the mentality of the rest of that community, and then a couple concentric circles outside of it, which is the global and globalist establishment on security and state matters. who just think they're entitled to rule because they went to the best schools, and the common response when you ask them a question is, "Why don't you shut up and just do what I say you should do?"
The Great Reset.
So so exposing all of that and really, sticking it to them would be worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, I actually wonder
Mix those metaphors or analogies.
I wonder, many of these bureaucratic organizations, one might even call them little mini regimes, operate in ways that are surely unconstitutional. And this is particularly true in light of what Chris Caldwell has argued at length in his book, The Age of Entitlement, but also in numerous essays for us,
If you haven't read The Age of Entitlement,
Oh my gosh.
the 60s by Chris Caldwell, you really need to.
If you're listening to my voice right now and you haven't read The Age of Entitlement, turn off this podcast. Don't listen to what I have to say.
Don't get
If anybody is listening to, I will restrict it to me personally. If anybody's listening to me personally and has not read The Age of Entitlement, stop listening to me and go read Chris Caldwell, because what a book, But he's argued at length that the 1964 Civil Rights Act and subsequent litigation basically constitutes a separate constitution, and that constitution is in many cases in direct contradiction to the American Constitution, the 1776 to 87 Constitution, and the Caldwell argument implies that there's all sorts of unconstitutional stuff going on. And one thing I wonder, I'm actually openly wondering this in real time, could the Trump administration set in motion various court cases that would, I've had my problems with its legal attempts to overturn the hypothetical results of the election, but could it set in motion some court cases that would eventually come to a hearing that might frustrate the deep state's attempt to now take over our lives? It seems like that's perfectly possible.
The difficulty would be that you would have a new Solicitor General who would take over that case.
Right.
And as we saw from the Obama years, actually in somewhat unprecedented fashion, you had a Solicitor General who would basically bowing out of the enforcement of federal law as it was currently understood because it conflicted with ideological commitments, especially on gay marriage, especially. But so that's a real problem. I was talking with our good friend Steve Hayward earlier today, and I think he said this publicly, so I'm not speaking out of turn, but on his podcast, on Powerline podcast. And I think it's a great idea, which is Barr should appoint a couple of special counsels and drop them in the lap of the Trump administration. One on election integrity, and then which is certainly in the purview of the AG and a special counsel, and then the other on Hunter Biden. Yeah, and it will, among other things, it will show the lie that has been proffered by Biden that he wants a completely independent Justice Department to get back to normal things. Because if you drop both those in his lap, the gymnastics that will go on to spike both of those will be epic.
Yeah, this is remarkable. And
this is in the Kamikaze Trump article, by the way.
Yeah, I will confess I haven't read it, but I sort of skimmed it.
It's not all in there. But the idea to drop the special counsels, that's absolutely the give the bird on the way out. And you could think of a number of those that actually would be quite deadly when you know where some of the bodies are buried. Let it fly and put those people in there. The other thing that the media is very angry about is when people try to do this, they've actually gotten wind of it and are angry. The other thing the author says about Kamikaze Trump is he should try to burrow as many of his people into the administrative state as possible, which is what Obama did. And so you put your people in there just to be the finger in the permanent administrative state class, the unfireable bureaucrat class, and let them be in there. Though even then, the blob is so strong that they're making sure that doesn't happen.
This is something, by the way, with a long and storied history in American governance. 1801, the Midnight Judges, right?
Marbury v. Madison.
To stuff the government full of your people.
Yeah, among other things.
Yeah, I think one legitimate goal would be to do everything possible to frustrate what will now become, and has already become, I was searching for it just now on Twitter, but couldn't quite find it. Some news outlet released a statement that, the Biden administration is going to be different than the Trump administration because it's not going to be as political, right? And that notion, which has been weaponized in a number of ways, for example, when those high school kids tried to fly back the blue flags, they said, this could be perceived as a political statement. What isn't political, by which is meant not the classical sense of political having to do with how we organize our lives together, but the idea of the political as the thing which is under discussion. And that which is not political is not under discussion. It's simply the premise of our lives together. And one systematic attempt that will be made by the media and the Biden administration and so forth, should the Biden administration come to pass, is the narrative that the things that the Democrats and the radicals sort of surrounding their base agree on, those things are not political. Those are just America. Those are just the consensus. Yeah. And so anything Trump can do to frustrate that narrative is crucial.
Throw as many bombs at them as possible and let it rip. I did want to add that Ryan's discussion about the blob. I know that people get mad at me for this because some people don't trust little Marco Rubio, the senator. But I did think
with good reason.
I fully admit it, with good reason. He has a lot to prove, to say the least. But Marco's tweet today really was very strong. Biden's cabinet picks went to Ivy League schools, have strong resumes, attend all the right conferences, and will be polite and orderly caretakers of America's decline. I support American greatness, and I have no interest in returning to the normal, quote unquote, that left us dependent on China. I mean, that's exactly the sentiment that you were echoing earlier. Is that these people, they have all the checks on the resume. Yeah. But we all know who they are. We all know this bullshit. We all know the record of failure that they have. And the more bombs that Trump throws on the way out, the better. Yeah. Clutter it up. Think of some inventive ways to screw them over. And this whole idea, we're going to unite together and peaceful, whatever. Like Ryan said, imagine if we actually had a special counsel looking at the corruption in the family Biden. It would be unbelievable what they would do. And sadly, even after 4 years of Trump, we still don't have the support in these agencies or departments. There'd be a civil war over it. Yeah. But anything you can do on the way out to throw the bomb, you absolutely should do. This is what they are about to do to the American right is unconscionable. What they are about to do to half of the American people is unconscionable. They're about to try to cancel and purge, and this is not. I can't even speak about it. It's so ridiculous. The idea that these people have in establishment Republican circles about the Trump administration and about the landscape is so off base. I think they're going to find out very soon. I think there's going to be a lot of regret.
Yeah, if our listeners could read the replies to my tweets and know what the just rank and file, not even the AOCs of the world who are openly salivating about putting Trump supporters on lists.
The base is based. The rank and file, they know how bad it is, right?
Exactly. Well, no, I don't mean the rank and file of I don't mean our rank and file. I mean the leftist rank. I mean the reply guys. The leftist rank and file. I mean just the fantasies that just regular folks who are, scrolling through Twitter and find some conservative person talking, they say things like, you should never win an election again. We want to make sure that you never win an election again. I mean, the dedicated opposition that we're up against is just that. It is dedicated. And we should be equally dedicated, if only in the name of restoring American governance, restoring the Constitution and the way that we've done elections and government in this country for these many years.
Yeah, and as a matter of messaging and information ops from the other side, your point, Spencer, and then the one that Matt built upon is very important, and it's been a theme of ours before, which is to say, when the other side says this has been the most political administration in recent history, or the most politicized Justice Department in recent history, or whatever. What they really mean is it's been the most threatening to our established way of doing things in Washington, which for the last 100 years has been the progressive way, which is to say there's a certain credentialed class in the bureaucracy and in the bureaucracy's extended spheres, which have bled into the political branches and into the mindset of a lot of congressmen as well, and even some judges, which is to say, we do politics a certain way in this country. There's a certain realm of accepted opinion on scientific things, including social scientific things. So that includes public policy and how we ought to go about it, and the topics we're allowed to discuss and the topics we're not allowed to discuss. And it stands in that whole way of doing things and thinking about government is alien to the American constitutional tradition. Although we've had it now for a century, it's kind of baked, it's in the water, as it were, and it's hard to get outside of it. But the older view is the view of the Federalists, using the last vestiges of their political power before the election of 1800 came to full fruition with the Jefferson administration to, exercise their power and put their people in and use that power to advocate a certain notion of justice and rights on behalf of their political constituency. That's what John Marini was writing about as early as 2016 about Trump, which is to say this was the most political administration, the most political campaign that he'd seen in a long time, probably since Reagan, if not even more political than Reagan. What Marini meant by that is you have a national candidate advocating a certain set of policy positions and a certain way of governing, massing a political constituency behind it, and then going to Washington and trying to do it all. And what's the response from official Washington? Not only are you illegitimate because you're offensive and you're Trump, but also the deplorable policy basket cannot be enacted because it's just not how we do things around here. That's the general view of the establishment of Washington, and it's the general view of, centrist types, technocrat types, and postmodern governance types across the Western world, and that's what we stand against, and that's what Trump sort of mobilized a constituency against. And I'm with you, Spencer. I'm very hopeful, actually, because 75 million people, our careful listeners will draw what they will from that number, voted for that. And it's like 10 more million people than voted for it the last time around. And that should be very encouraging. That is a huge political phenomenon that cannot be taken lightly and can be built upon and used to great good things.
Yeah, we've arrived at something absolutely crucial, which is when people ask, why are you focusing on the culture? Why are you focusing on the press? Like the press is the power to delineate what is and isn't political. And when I say that I'm excited and hopeful about breaking that power, that's exactly what I mean. That we are, you're listening right now to the revolution, and it's gonna.
That's the epithet, right? That's just political. What do you? Exactly. As opposed to us. Including the media now too, right? The media is in the science of truth,
right?
That's what that's what the journalism schools teach, and that's their general spirit, and it's just frankly absurd.
Yeah, no, and that's why new media is needed,
right? Of course,
and that's why they don't want us to congregate or talk to each other. They want to destroy all our comms.
What's your slogan? New tech, new media, red states.
Red states, really new tech, new media.
Yeah.
Why do they want to shut down new media, new tech? They don't want us to talk to each other. Like I was talking to Peachy Keenan in real life, and I think she had a great line. Just why are they so scared of us talking to each other? Why is Parler so scary? They do not want this half of the country associating with each other. It's got to be they're a bunch of Nazis
and organizing.
Yeah, because they want to isolate you. So if you're listening to this for Thanksgiving, go with your family, however that works, enjoy, give thanks. Think about the fact we still have the structure of America in some way still. We can give thanks for that. We can give thanks to God. We can give thanks to a lot of things. But, looking forward, we have to not think that we're atomized. They want to atomize us. As another friend prominent on Twitter said today, they want to atomize each of you. They want you to be depressed. They want you to think you're alone. And in fact, you're at least half. We don't even know, right? You're at least half of the country. I think more than half of the country is not woke, does not want any of this stuff, but is too scared to say it. So you're not in some kind of like small fringe minority. What they are trying to do and what they're terrified of is you actually exercising your right to self-govern as a people.
Yeah, that is right. And what we stand for around here, above all else, is self-governance. And that's a big term. Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks, as always, for turning in. Damn you, Laphroaig man.
We've all overpoured.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
We're all plenty sober. It's just sometimes tongues get twisted.
We're all going to turn in.
Thank you for listening to The Roundtable. If you want to learn more, visit our websites at AmericanMind.org, Claremont.org, and ClaremontReviewBooks.com. Don't forget to rate, review, share, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Say a prayer for David Barr. He's embarking on a Pfizer raid and will be injecting himself with many vaccines.
He's been quiet for way
And
too
thank you to the production and engineering crew, Jake Gannon and Annalisa Lee. Thank you all. Talk to you next week.